Hey, what's happening, YouTubers? Thanks for tuning back into the channel today, right here with a Rust Belt Mechanic. Today we've got Project Cheap Caddy back into the shop again. I know we've got a lot of videos coming out on this, but that's because it's cheap and it needs a lot of work. And I'm showing you guys that you guys can do rebuilds on these Cadillacs on the cheap end of everything. So today we're getting focused in on the steering. We've got a traction control, stability control issue with it. It pops on every once in a while, plus the steering wheel's off just a little bit. So we're gonna be taking care of that today. Stay tuned. So the issue that we've got with our Cadillac today is that we have a stability control light coming on just every once in a while. Most of the time it's when you first get it started and you go around a corner at a pretty decent speed. It pops across the message instrument area on the radio, says stability control needs service. So I looked into it, got this code, C0461 steering wheel position sensor out of range, so I looked into that one. Evidently, I'm not a Caddy, expert by any means, but I looked into it and talked to a few of them, and I guess they have an issue with their steering wheel position sensor. They also call it a steering wheel speed sensor, so kind of odd on their naming on that one, but they have a lot of issues with those. It's located at the base of the steering column, so I got looking into that one. I put it on the scan tool and come to find out that in the morning when you get to turning the steering wheel a little bit on the faster side, it ends up dropping that steering wheel position, and that's when it pops that light. So when I looked into it, looks like the connector looks pretty decent, looks okay, but it looks like we're gonna have to be replacing this sensor. Unfortunately, on this model, we actually have to take our steering column all the way out. So today we're going to dive into taking the steering column out. It's not going to be nearly as hard as you guys think. Steering columns, they may look daunting, but they're actually pretty simple. So let's dive into the car and let's start getting our trim panels off so we can get this column dropped. All right, so when we dive down into our steering column area, the first thing we're gonna have to get off is gonna be this panel right here. Afterwards, there's gonna be a little plastic shield panel underneath this area. Pretty easy. All you're gonna need is a Phillips head screwdriver. There's 1, 2, and 3 screws to be able to take this panel off. Afterwards, it's just gonna unclip, pull straight out from the dash. The lower column's gonna pop off first, one connector for the lower light assembly. You're also gonna have a hidden screw right here in under the parking brake release lever. After that, you're gonna be able to drop this front column piece right here. There we go. Now we've got this steel plate in here and we're gonna need to get that out. From these holes right in here, there's gonna be 2 10mm bolts stuck way up into those hole openings right there. Get an extension with a 10 and get that plate out. There we go. Now, unfortunately for the next part, you're gonna have to get underneath the car. Most steering columns do have a way to separate the intermediate shaft underneath the dash, but however, this one does not have an easily accessible one. So from underneath the vehicle, we're gonna look up between the exhaust, right up in here, and right there, looks like a 13mm bolt right there. That is gonna be the one that we're gonna be removing to be able to slide that intermediate shaft up off of the lower portion. It probably is a smart idea when you go to take this bolt out that you wait until the vehicle cools off a little bit, because your arm is right next to that hot catalytic converter. Next, we're going to need to lower the vehicle back down and get our wiring harnesses unhooked. GM makes it nice. You pop this side cover off the dash and you're able to get your one connector for your airbag disconnected right there. And then your main harness down here is going to be this big thing right here. You're going to pull that clip down rotate it up this way, and separate the main part of the harness. Last one you're going to have to do is this one right here. This is your actual steering wheel position sensor. That is the thing we're actually going to be replacing after we get the column out. Once you get everything unhooked there, electrical wise, then you're just going to have 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, and 4 nuts there to remove. That's going to be able to let you drop your steering column down on out of the vehicle. So we had just a bit of a tough break. Ends up where we took it apart down underneath the car would not come apart. It was just too seized up. I couldn't get it and ended up having to cut the boot, which normally went at the end of this shaft right here. Ended up just making a cut down the middle of it, so I was able to pry that boot off, and then it is able to split right here with a 13mm nut, and the holding flange comes on out of there. At that point, the 4 bolts, once you get those off, the whole steering column done drops right out. And now this is going to be the part that we are going to be going after. So the first thing we're going to have to do is just remove this little purple retainer right here. Kind of just pulls straight out, no clips or anything fancy. And then the only thing this is held in by are these 3 plastic little pushed in retainers here. So we're going to kind of try to push all 3 at the same time and wiggle our sensor up, out, and it slides right off the end of the shaft. A little bit of tension, but there we go, right off the end. Alright, so now we've got our new sensor for replacement. The new one comes with a little retaining tab already put into it, so we got that one all aligned up from where we were at before. So we have our steering wheel is aligned and centered on this portion of the shaft. That is important to have your steering wheel centered on this one, because that is where your alignment tabs are going to line up on this one. This is going to align onto your column on the inside portion here. So we're going to slide this over the shaft, obviously making sure everything was cleaned off first. Be a little bit of a tight fit over the top. Slide that down on, and then that just clips right into our shaft assembly right there. So we've got this area still all centered up on our steering wheel, good to go. And now we're going to be able to pull our pin, give it a twist, and it comes right out. That's done installed. Now we're just going to install our little clip here. There we go, installed just like that. That's simple as that one, and we're just going to be putting this column right back on up into the vehicle, and we're going to be clearing our code and see what happens. All right, so now what we're going to do first before we clear out all of our codes is we're going to do an alignment, because once we do an alignment, we want to be able to re-zero our center steering and get that all taken care of, so we don't have all of our ABS and steering and everything off once that's done. So we're going to do our alignment here. We've got it on our Hunter alignment rack. I know not everybody has one, but usually these days a lot of shops do these alignments for pretty darn cheap. Yes, they are going to try to upsell you on a lot of other things, because they don't actually make a lot of money on alignments. Based on the cost of these alignment machines, they cost a lot to run and everything. So these guys are going to try to upsell you pretty much guaranteed. When you go and you just say, I just want the alignment, that's it, just align it. Usually they're doing them anywhere from $49.95 to $79.95 for a 4-wheel alignment, which is a pretty good deal. So I'd say that one I would definitely go ahead and take. Just be wary that you're going to hear a lot of other sales pitches and everything when you bring it there. All right, after completing our compensation procedure here on the alignment machine, we can see that we have a lot of greens on here and only a few reds. All of our camber, caster, and all of our rear alignment stuff are all in line. The only thing is out is our front toe. So it looks like our steering wheel is going to be off. It's going to be to the right, which is, you know, what I'm seeing right there. So we're going to be adjusting our steering back to the left. With this one, let's have a look at what kind of tools we're going to need. What's really cool about this, we're going to need a 21 and a 26mm wrench, and that's going to be able to unlock our jam nut on our tie rod end to be able to get those loose and do some adjustments. So let's hop under the vehicle. All right, our toe adjustment on this specific setup on these GMs is just a little bit different. Normally they have a lock nut here on the end. You're going to loosen that and the sleeve is going to be adjustable. However, on the GMs, the actual tie rod is the threaded part. So your lock nut is actually going to be this 26 millimeter on the inside. You're going to loosen that one up, and then you're going to move the adjustment to lock that inner lock nut into place once that is adjusted where it needs to go. So we've got this one moved, and we're going to then at that point rotate this one into the left to lock it down into place. And there we go. Alright, rotate this one in till we get it pretty close here. Pretty darn close there. Now we're going to get our lock nut back. Rotate this and lock it back into place. There we go. Nice and tight, and our alignment looks pretty and green. Alright, so now what we're needing to do is we're needing to test our steering wheel position sensor. We've got our steering position sensor test here in the Tech 2. We're going to click on that one. It says apply the parking brake, done, engine started, turning steering wheel all the way to the left lock. So we'll turn that one there to the left lock, and we'll hit one finger here. Continue. It says turn steering wheel to the right. And there it says test passed. So looks like we are good to go on our steering position sensor. It's picking it up just perfectly. That's what I really like to see. All right, guys, we got her all aligned. We've got our steering angle sensor issue all taken care of. No codes returned after test driving it. It passed our steering angle sense, so we are good to go. That just goes to show you guys that if you guys do see this service stability control light and that's the kind of code that you do have, it is a pretty simple thing to replace that steering angle sensor on this car, as well as a lot of other GMs. That's about the same service procedure that you're going to go through on those. Well, that's about all we've got for this part of the build today. We've got a lot more still coming up on it. Hopefully you guys aren't getting too bored with this one. We've got some quick, easy stuff coming up on the next couple of videos. We're going to be doing a little bit on this series on the upgrades that most people go through when they first get their used car. We're going to do some window tint. We're going to do some vent visors, some floor mats. We're even going to get this thing detailed up right. We're going to get those nasty headlights fixed. I know a lot of you guys have commented down below on seeing those nasty fogged up headlights, and we're going to get those taken care of here really soon. Maybe even do some lighting upgrades to it as well. We're kind of in a little bit of a time crunch. We're getting ready to go on vacation, and this is going to be coming along with us. So we're going to be taking this thing along the way, giving you guys updates on how the Project Cheap Caddy gets along on a long trip. Thank you guys for tuning in today. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on that bell notification so you guys get notified when I come out with cool, awesome content just like this one here today. Thanks, and as always, you guys stay awesome.